اگه میدونستم اتفاقی نمیفته قطعا ایران، قطعا بغل خانوادم.
خب حالا نه تنها که مثال اونا مخالفت به ما داشته باشن، البته من فکر میکنم بلکه دشمن فرهنگ و زبان خود مملکتشون هستن.
Stay till the very end. We have a lot of kids who have no mummies and no daddies, and we will not leave them on their own.
We have to realise that our country is quite directly involved in a lot of these situations in Afghanistan, in Syria, in Iraq, in Iran. You know, we have set a lot of these things up.
Leaving in the early morning hours, we made our way to the Cali refugee camp, also known as the jungle. We didn't know what was expecting us on our journey except for images and videos we watched online. What we knew though was our objective, getting an unbiased view into life in the jungle and the daily struggle of the people living there. Having arrived in the Calais and trying to locate an entrance to the camp, we met a few Afghan refugees. They were kind enough to show us how to get into the camp. We found the camp, but we decided to go back at night as we wanted to feel the atmosphere of the jungle when lights go out. In the camp, we met Javed from Afghanistan. He was in the camp for 5 months and was willing to tell us why he wanted to go to London and why his hopes of achieving his goal are slim.
خوب از افغانستان اومدیم چون که مثال اونجا یک سلسله مشکلاتی که داشتیم، بنابراین که گفتن اروپا دروازه‌اش بروی مهاجرین باز است، من آمده بودم ایران، بعدا از ایران آمدم به طرف اروپا، علاقمند بودم که برم لندن. متاسفانه اینجا که آمدیم که راه بسته است و نمیگذارن بریم. اگر ما مثلا علاقه به کشورهای دیگه می داشتیم، این تعداد مهاجرین را که اونا پذیرفتن میتونستیم اونجا هم بریم، اما علاقمندی داشتیم بریم به لندن که به فرهنگ و زبان از اونا ما آشنا شویم. اما وقتی که ما شنیدیم میگه آقای دیوید کامرون گفته است اینا دهشت افغان هستند. خب حالا نه تنها که مثال اونا مخالفت به ما داشته باشن، البته من فکر میکنم بلکه دشمن فرهنگ و زبان خود مملکتشون هستن. ما نمیگذارن بریم اونجا آشنا شویم به اون مردم و زبان و فرهنگشان. دیگه همینطوری ما نیاز به این نداریم که اینجا بخوابیم به ما لباس بیارن و غذا بیارن بدن. ما میخوایم هر کجا باشیم از زحمت خود پیدا کنیم. البته که همین است حقیقتش.
درسته.
بله.
کمکی از دولت فرانسه میگیرین؟
البته که ما ناراضی نیستیم از این دولت فرانسه، هم واقعا که کمک میکنن، دستشان درد نکنه. بله اینجا رسیدگی میکنن. اونو هم ما که علاقمند به بودن اینجا نداریم، دیگه به ما چه فایده داره کمک؟
مردم کاله چی؟
مردم کاله هم حالا یک مردم چون که ما میرفتیم به لیدلا که پرتاب کنیم در ماشینا بریم، یک مردم پیدا شده است که مردم کتک میزنن و شت و ضرب میزنن در این راه. خیلی بچه ها دست و پایشان شکستاندن، صورتشان سیاه گشتاندن. نمیدانیم از کدام مردم، هم ما که میبینیم خیلی مردم خود فرانسه مردم خوبی هستن، خوش اخلاقی هستن. شاید مثلا نو از کدام کشور دیگه وارد شده باشه به ضد ما، یا شاید کدام گروه دیگه اونا رو تحریک کرده باشه. ما نمیدانیم، اطلاع دقیق درباره اونا نداریم کی هستن.
خب ببین، مردم کاله میگن پناهنده‌هایی که اینجا هستن اذیت میکنن، بعد از نظر جنسی اذیت میکنن، بعضی موقع دزدی میکنن. این درسته؟
البته یکی در مردمی که در این جنگل هست خود طبعا اعصابی از اینا از دست داده شده است، یک خاصیت دیگه را به خود گرفتن. شاید مثلا ما بچه‌شون ندیدیم، یک کسی که اعصابش از دست بده مثل دیوانه شده دیگه شاید از این کارا بکنه.
As we were leaving the jungle, we met a voluntary waiting to be picked up. She was working with the orphan children of the camp and told us why days such as Valentine had little meaning during such hard times.
Yeah, I'd say Valentine's Day, its message is quite lost here. The feeling is very hopeless at the moment. Everybody is very on edge. Everybody is very scared. There's been announcements from the French government as to evictions, so nobody knows for sure what's actually going to happen. So there's more of a feeling of fear than love at the moment.
The next day, we made our way to one of the voluntary warehouses, which are receiving donations from all over Europe and distribute them fairly all over the camp. Having collected donations ourselves from people of Southampton, we were excited to see how those donations were received and what happened to them inside the warehouse. We were also interested to find out the daily operation that happened in such a large facilities with hundreds of volunteers and the logistic needed to make everything run smoothly, as some volunteers were there for weeks while others just for a few days. Inside, we met a married couple who's been working at the warehouse for a few weeks. They were happy to answer our question regarding the warehouse and of course the current ongoing in the camp.
Unfortunately, Valentine's Day and Christmas have both come at quite desperate times in the camp. So at the moment with the whole eviction, I'm doing a census, trying to find out exactly how many people are in the south of the camp so we can prove the government wrong. And people's attitudes are so desperate because of that. And it was the same at Christmas. There were things going on at Christmas as well. So it seems quite sad because for us it's the real traditional occasions, and I think a lot of people probably do, you know, some of the people would celebrate Christmas more, although a lot of people are Muslim, there are churches in the camp, but yeah, they're quite desperate times as well.
So I think like for people back at home, I just would like to say like don't forget us, and don't believe what you read in the papers, because seeing things happen and then seeing the news story come out the next day, that's vastly different. Yeah.
I spent yesterday afternoon doing the census. We had an Afghan translator who was 15 years old. He lost his brother on the Iranian border to the police. They arrested him, and he's never seen him since. He doesn't know where he is. And we were sat in his caravan having a cup of tea, talking about the Taliban and talking about the children that they'd seen that the Taliban had killed. And we were talking about, you know, what do they want us as the volunteers to do? What do they want? And they said we would be happy to sleep on the streets. We appreciate the clothes and the food and the warmth and the shelters, but we would be happy to sleep on the streets if it meant that we could get to our families in Britain. A lot of these guys have families. So, you know, everything we're doing here is vital, and it's so important for people to come out and help. Specifically, especially if they have a period of time, or even if they can just support us with their thoughts and donations. But also, you know, the biggest thing is just trying to change the mind of the Conservative government to be much more open and accepting. We have to realise that our country is quite directly involved in a lot of these situations in Afghanistan, in Syria, in Iraq, in Iran. You know, we have set a lot of these things up. And we can't just turn our backs and say we're not willing to help you. You know, your life has been destroyed by our actions, partly by our actions that we've been involved in. And we can't just turn around and say we're just going to cast you adrift, because we have an obligation to these people. They have nowhere to go. They're not migrants. Some of them are, but a lot of them have come from desperate situations, seeing children of 7 years old being slaughtered. You know, these people don't want to sit in Calais. They don't want to sit in the jungle. They want their families, and they want, you know, to be in a place where they can have a normal life. You know, and that's what we need to try and lobby for.
Having an interview in the camp with a former free journalist from Iran, we left the warehouse for the jungle. Babak Inalu had to flee Iran out of fear of persecution because of one of his interviews was seen as a political criticism against the government. His application for asylum in France had been denied.
بابت همین یکی از این مصاحبه‌ها، یعنی در اولش جنبه فقط عمومی داشتش، مصاحبه‌ای راجع به جوونا و مشکلات کاری توی ایران بود. بعدش یه مصاحبه‌ای درست کردم که حالا به نظر دولت مثلا سیاسی بود و اینا، که مشکل برام درست کرده از ایران خارج شد.
الان اگه برگردی ایران چی میشه؟
قطعاً خب امکان بازداشت، زندانی، نمیدونم شاید اعدام، چون تو همچین کیسایی پرونده‌ای نمیدونی چه اتفاقی میفته.
اگه یه روز میدونستی مثلا اتفاقی نمیفته اینجا دوست داشتی باشی یا ایران؟
که می‌دونستم اتفاقی نمیفته. قطعا ایران، قطعا بغل خانواده‌ام بودم.
چرا تو کمپ هستی؟ میخوای بری انگلیس یا؟
نه، من درخواست پناهندگی کردم اینجا، ولی چون از پیش پلیس بودم و درخواست پناهندگی کردم، حالا با توجه به شرایط من خیلی زود منو مصاحبه کردن و خیلی زود منو ریجکت کردن. حالا الان اینجا وایسادم تا اینترویو بعدی یا شانس بعدی رو امتحان کنم. اینجا خرجی نداریم، حدود مثلا شاید تو ماه به 40 یورو 50 یورو خرجم بشه. خرجی نداریم اونقدر. یه پولی داشتم و حالا یه بعضی وقتا هم کمک میگیرم از خانواده‌ام.
الان هدفت چیه کلا؟ خواهید از اینجا بزنی بیرون چیکار می‌کنی؟
از این کمپ بزنم بیرون. کلا من الان هدفم اینه که اولا که خودم از این شرایط بکشم بیرون، یعنی حالا از این کمپی که میبینید و با این مشکلات بیام بیرون. قطعا این که جواب بگیرم، بتونم توی این کشور زندگی کنم.
After our interview, Babak was nice enough to give us a tour through the camp while pointing out the most important facilities and locations.
آبخوری زرد توش میشورن. اینجا رو میان هر روز صبح میان تمیز میکنن، تخلیه میکنن. ببینید یه روزایی بارونی و لباس و شلوار کفش ساعت 11 اینجا صبح ببینید اینجا صف هم. اون جلوتر دوباره یه آشپزخونه کوچیکه، اونجا هم ساعت 2 نهار میدن. واکسن میزنن بعضی وقتا کسایی که کمک‌های اولیه نیاز دارن میاد. اون تا یه دونه دفتر دیگه وکیلای مجانی کار میکنن اینجا هم یه محلیه، فکر کنم جالب ترین محل این جنگل اینجا باشه. یه جایی مثل سالن تئاتر، صبح ورزش میکنن، غروبا هم موزیک و تئاتر و فیلم و اینا کار میکنن. این کانتینرهاییه که دولت فرانسه گذاشته برای پناهنده‌ها و فکر می‌کنم در نظر دارن که کلاً دیگه چادرها و این هتل‌ها رو همه رو جمع کنن، همه پناهنده‌ها رو منتقل کنن به این کانتینرها. اینجا تو از شکل دستت استفاده میکنن برای ورود و خروجت. اینجا برق داره، دستشویی داره و قراره حموم هم درست کنن. 26 هم کانتینر منه که اینجا دیشب من اومدم ریجستر شدم و شب دیگه اینجا میمونم. خیلی از اون چادرها بهتره. این هم صف غذایی که وای میسن اینجا غذا بگیرن، صبحونه میگیرن و ساعت 3 شروع میکنن نهار میدن. این صف قبلا تا پشت این ساختمون میومد ولی الان خیلی کم شده. ای ببینی انگار مثلا 1/5 از اون جمعیتی که بودن هستن.
دور از دلالا خوبی؟ جوری؟
چند وقت اینجایی؟
ها؟
چند وقت اینجایی؟
4 ماه شده که اونجا هستم.
4 ماه فرانسه؟
دمو کالاست.
آره از افغانستان؟
از افغانستان آمد.
برای چی اومدی؟
به خاطر از اینکه غریبی از افغانستان کاران است، افغانستان خراب است. کار ما نیست. میریم بخیر. نه جم پلیس هم مردم میدن هر چیز میکنه. پلیس بیخی چی میکنه؟
میذاره برید
تشکر.
پلیس مو راغی.
On our last day, we went back to the warehouse to interview its manager. She came to Calais 5 months ago as she knew consistency on the ground was important.
I'd say to anybody wanting to come and volunteer, it doesn't matter what your background is. We have people of all ages, all professions that come, and even if it's just for an hour. I'd say if you're coming as a large group, yesterday we had a group of 49 students and they came for about 40 minutes. And obviously it's a little bit difficult with that number. But actually if you just give us notice and let us know that you're only coming for a short spell, we'll find and pre-allocate a role for you. People come for 30 minutes and that's okay. We will find somewhere for you to fit in. But remember, you don't have to be in Calais. Calais to be a part of the action. There's lots of things you can do from the UK, you know, lobbying the government through contacting your local MP about the issues, sharing it with friends, talking about it on Facebook, seeking out correct information rather than simply taking what you see on television, but quite importantly and practically, sorting from back in the UK. A lot of the donations we receive are mixed up or inappropriate. So if you're making a donation, put into one bag men and into another bag women. That simple difference makes a huge impact on how we can operate here and the speed and efficiency at which we can distribute to camp. Also, there are a lot of warehouses dotted around the UK. To find them, simply type into Google, good old Google, your local area and warehouse Calais sort, and you'll find something, the dates and times. And just give them a hand, lend a hand in your local area, or maybe contact your local refugee centre. It's not just about Calais, it's also about back home and the people that are now living in England or Britain. See if you can help out, if you can teach English or help feed or whatever it is, your skill and your time is necessary. With the current information as far as the next eviction goes, the main thing I'd just like to point out with the container camp. So the container camp holds 1,500 people. Each container holds 12 people. So obviously there's issues in terms of who's sharing, and there's an issue for unaccompanied minors. We do have a lot of unaccompanied minors. Previously, the charity that were organising that, Livy Active, said they were not prepared to put unaccompanied minors for their own safety and well-being into the camp on their own. However, now, amazingly, it's suddenly safe, and they're going to do it, which seems strange. And safeguarding is an issue there. More importantly, 700 of those places have already been taken. So although you might hear in the news there's 1,500 spaces, there's not. There's around 700 left. There are far more than 800 people in the area due to be evicted. A lot of those, like I said, unaccompanied minors, there are children, there are families. For us, it's not that we want the camp to continue, we never have. We would love the jungle not to exist, but it's about provision of services. And if the French and British governments can prove that they have efficient services that to offer these individuals, then of course, not a problem. If they can offer shelter, food, accommodation, legal rights, protection for minors, schooling and education, which is a legal right in France, then of course, that's great. Right now, it would appear that that's not the case, and the services they're offering are limited and failing in many aspects.
With our time in Calais at an end, we headed back to England, having a deeper understanding of the situation and with the certainty that we will be back either as volunteers or filmmakers. Shortly after we left, Babak sent us images of part of the camp being destroyed by French government.
ما به اون هدفی که آمدیم به قصد اون جایی که میخوایم بریم ما را راه بدن، نخواهم اونا ضرر کردن. ما هم آدمایی نیستیم که مثلا اخلاق و خدمت یک ملت نادیده بگیریم.
Till the very end. We have a lot of kids who have no mummies and no daddies, and we will not leave them on their own.
A lot of people look at this situation in Europe and they see it as a political crisis. It's a humanitarian one as well, first and foremost, and that's why the volunteers are here on the ground.